Welcome to part 2 of my Segregation YouTube series. Okay. Anyway, but this is part 2 of my PowerPoint project slash sort of essay that I have to do for this Com 105 class, and it is about segregation. So this is a trigger warning right now, really soon in the video. I'm telling you, it's gonna get crazy after this. It's gonna be insane. There's gonna be battles going on inside of this room. I'm telling you, you wait till I read these texts. We're gonna go crazy. You just wait. But before I begin, let me tell you where I am in this project. So we turned in the PowerPoint presentation, and we just recently wrote out the entire 15-page sort of 15-page single-spaced essay that we had to do, and we turned that in just yesterday, last night. So right now we're just kind of, the dust is settling and we're just waiting to get our grade in it. And once we get our grade, we have to do the whole peer evaluation thing. So right now, I guess you can say there's no punches being thrown, but all the punches that were thrown are now documented, and now I can go and look at them and show you guys what the heck is going on. So I'm going to read off my phone the exact word for word statement and the whole solutions and recommendations for segregation in which I explained. Now these solutions were my favorite solutions taken from the PowerPoint, but right now I'm going to go over the very in-depth solutions that I came up with that were in the paper that we actually turned in. So this was all written by me. Solutions and recommendations. The problem we're researching was segregation. More specifically, we were researching how and why segregation still exists in America, even though it is not legally pursued anymore. Segregation is a problem in and of itself, but it also is the active ingredient in the creation of academic low achievement and poverty. The residents of Milwaukee clearly don't like the fact that many of their schools are segregated. This, of course, means that the school is just made up of 90% of one race. Just like our group, we wanted the schools in Milwaukee to be less segregated. The question we asked ourselves is, how can we fix this problem? What's hard about trying to come up with solutions that could help solve the problem is that the problem hasn't even been solved by the government. With this being said, it's unsettling knowing that there's a big chance you're not going to find any reasonable solutions to the problem that you're researching. Although finding reasonable solutions to our problem was difficult, I managed to come up with a few reasonable options. The vast majority of my solutions require the individual to make the change rather than the government. This was the key to my decision making during this project. One reason why I believe that this is just so I could stop myself from explaining my solutions too vaguely. With respect to this tax solution that I mentioned in the PowerPoint, there wasn't really much I felt like I could build upon it. This is the main reason why I did not base any of my solutions in the control of the government. When I put the responsibility of change on the individual, I was able to lay out a step-by-step procedure that would allow even the dullest among us to follow. Looking back on my solutions, I was able to explain my theories very clearly. This makes me favorable for them because of how realistic they seem to be justly implemented. One aspect of this project that was tremendously difficult to get past was the political and moral views of my solutions. What I thought was interesting about my solutions was that my other group members did not agree with my points. This made me realize that if these factual-based solutions were to be implemented, many people in the community would feel personally threatened and angry when hearing these recommendations. This was just like my group members. Because of this reason, many people wouldn't be very accepting to my suggestions, therefore making it very hard to implement in a community. The question I don't yet have the answer for was what percentage of the population needs to follow my solutions in order to fix the problem of segregation. I don't know what that percentage might be to fix the problem, but I do know that people that do follow through with the tips I outlined will reap the benefits that derive from their hard work and will lead their communities one step closer to a better future. Better future means like unsegregated, because segregation is bad. Okay, so my first point, that was like the prelude to my points. My first point was the solution and recommendation was decrease the number of children being born out of wedlock. So this is children that are being born from non-mature births or relationships or whatever. So babies that are born when their mom and dad aren't married. That's what it means. Decrease the number of children being born out of wedlock. And my description under it was, one of our solutions for solving the problem of segregation was to make changes to the number of children being born to non-marital relationships. Our solution we were proposing was to encourage African American and Hispanic populations in Milwaukee to practice safe sex. And that's not only those two races, this is everyone, but like more specifically, we're focusing on these two races, which you will see later because the data shows what it'll show. I'll show you later. I say this because segregation in present-day America is largely due to poverty and low income. One of the best ways to become poor for the rest of your life is to become a single parent to a newborn baby. Data from the U.S. National Library of Medicine stated in a survey from 1950 to 2000 that the percentage of non-marital births from black women was at an all-time high of around 70% from 1995 to 2000. 70% is a relatively high number, even though compared to the average rates of all women combined, which is a combination of 35% to 38% of all births. I would implement this solution by like getting that percentage further down by getting important people in African American and Hispanic communities to speak on behalf of this problem. When I watch the news, all the headlines by mainstream media, all I see is politicians blaming their community's problems on racism, even though there is no institutional racism left in America. I believe if politicians started to speak to their community and started preaching about what the people of their districts could start doing to improve themselves, like not getting pregnant before they've become married, the African American and Hispanic communities would be much better off. One action politicians in Milwaukee could do is renting out public space and hosting information sessions surrounding the idea of safe sex. In those meetings, they could go over ways to protect yourself from pregnancy, such as using condoms and other safety measures, like, birth control and stuff. The politicians could also start creating YouTube channels. Then this would attract more young men and women to the politicians' message. It is self-evident that the majority of teenagers use YouTube regularly, but if you are skeptical, www.stageoflife.com did a survey studying many different aspects of teen viewership on YouTube. One of their many questions they asked, which I am very thankful for, was, do you seek advice through YouTube channels / videos that are, and this is in quotations, that are about relationship, dating, teen trends, advice on how to do new skills, such as creating new hairstyles, and etc. What I thought was very interesting about that was 75% of the teens surveyed answered yes to this question. To me, this was, without a doubt, tells me that younger people literally look to better themselves in their free time. Teens are literally seeking out self-improvement tips from respected people on YouTube. This is why I believe politicians should act as if they are showing people how to make good decisions in life. Politicians in America need to become better leaders. I would like to bring up a point from Ronald E. Riggio, who has a PhD and is a professor of leadership and organizational psychology and former director of the I'm going to butcher this name, but like Crevasse Leadership Institute at Claremont McKenna College. To paraphrase from an article he wrote in Psychology Today titled, "Are Teachers Really Leaders in Disguise?" He said, this is the paraphrase. Teachers and good leaders are the same exact thing in theory and in practice. That was my paraphrase of it. I know this solution will help decrease the number of children being born out of wedlock tremendously. This will take a long time to really change the economic future for these communities, but the schools will get less segregated because the social economic status of the poor races in America will rise up to the national average. To wrap it up, if our elected leaders could become better leaders by educating our youth via YouTube, our society and the African American and Latino populations as a whole would see a better future they never even dreamed of. My second point, which I believe would really help desegregate the school system in Milwaukee public schools, is if parents started reading to children at an early age. So after that, I wrote, in the PowerPoint, I use the action of reading to children as a way to raise academic success. In the PowerPoint, I mentioned specific points, but didn't go into much detail explaining why reading contributed to them. To begin, reading to children supports cognitive development. Cognitive development is the construction of thought processes including remembering, problem solving, and decision making from childhood through adolescence to adulthood. That's from healthofchildren.com and www.allforkids.org. Reading to children also improves language skills. Reading daily to young children starting at infancy can help with language acquisition and literary skills. This is because reading to your children in the earliest months stimulates the part of your brain that allows them to understand the meaning of language and helps them build key language and literary social skills. That's from www.allforkids.org as well. Another gift reading gives to a child is higher academic success. The more words that are in a child's language world, the more words they will learn. And the stronger their language skills are when they reach kindergarten, the more prepared they are to be able to read. And the better they read, the more likely they will graduate from high school. That's from pbs.org. Unfortunately, many elementary students aren't prepared to go into kindergarten. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, more than 1 in 3 American children start kindergarten without the skills they need to learn to read. About 2/3 of children can't read proficiently by the end of the 3rd grade. That's from pbs.org as well. If more parents start reading to their children at an early age, the number of children that are unprepared for entry-level education will surely go down. Reading to children also increases their concentration and discipline. Very young children rarely sit still for long, and it's sometimes difficult to get them to focus. But when you introduce regular reading to your children, you may start to observe the change in behavior. Toddlers will initially squirm and become distracted during story time, but eventually they'll learn to stay put for the duration of the book. That's from www.allforkids.org as well. Because the child sits through the entirety of the book, it builds up self-discipline. I'm just shooting from the hip when I say this, but that self-discipline may carry over to doing homework as well in the future. Although reading to your child may seem like a drag and a giant time commitment, it is shown to only benefit them in the long term. That is why the solution to get more parents involved in this activity would benefit the future socio-economic status of the area and further put an end to segregation in Milwaukee. To get parents to follow through with this, I would set up activities and events with the local schools to help promote this idea. Back when I was in elementary school, my school allowed us to make a team with 3 other friends. The event went like this. There was a giant football field that was drawn onto the wall, and each team had a pin with their name on it. The goal was to get as many touchdowns as you could get in the month the game went on for. For every 20 minutes you read, you advanced 10 yards. Your pin advanced 10 yards on the field. You tracked your time by taking reading slips, and every time you read for 20 minutes at home, a parent had to sign the slip confirming that you did actually read. As a kid who didn't like reading, you would be amazed to find out that every day for a month, all I did when I got home was to read. In that month, I was flying through a Magic Treehouse book once a week. For a kid that absolutely despised reading, it was an actual race to get home to crack open a book all through the month. Well, anyway, that's basically my two solutions, and I don't know why this seems offensive. My problem with this is that the entire time I was writing this, my group said like it was all a shit show and I did horrible work, and I really don't believe that. I'm trying to look back into my texts, and there's just other stupid things that are happening in this text right now. Like, I don't know how long this video is, but I think I'm just gonna hold it there for now. Actually, no, never mind. I'm gonna show you these texts because it goes along with the context. I'm gonna talk to you what kind of I guess you could more or less call this bullying in a group project, if anything. Not that I'm getting bullied. I'm not gonna let these people bully me, but like there is basically bullying going on in this group chat. So let me read to you what was said after my last video. Okay, so one thing that happened was that I didn't cite a source properly. So as you can say, I messed up. And this was before we turned it in, and I thought I was done, but one of my group partners caught that I did not cite a source properly. Like, I didn't mention to put it in the references, I only cited it in text. So I went back and I changed it. She said, also, you can't cite your sources as a website URL. You need to use the author's last name and year published. It needs to be single space, no indents. Can you please read the instructions? And that's fine. I said, yeah. I said, I fixed the problem. I cited it correctly. And then I said K. Like, I just put K in the chat. And then she said, LOL, your lack of response reflects your lack of work ethic. And I was just very confused because I'm doing the majority of this project. For example, I literally wrote 4 pages out of the 10 pages that had words on it. But anyway, let me tell you a different part of this texting battle. She said, no, Bryce, please read the instruction. And I was like, okay, cool. So I read the instruction, and then I did not send a single text after that. She just said, like, read the instructions, which I did. Yeah, I messed up. I didn't read it as well as I could have, and that's why I didn't cite it properly. But now it's all cited. And so a couple minutes later, she says, honestly, almost everything you've done is incorrect. I don't want to do your work for you. Go to Canvas and fix your stuff. And I looked back at the project, and literally everything was up to par. There wasn't a single thing wrong with my explanation and the solutions. Everything was cited properly. I really don't know what she was talking about. But anyway, I want to bring down to this other part of this texting thing. So remember before in this video when I mentioned that my group partner called my work in the project as a whole a shit show? So she highlighted the part when I said, what I thought was interesting about my solutions was that my other group members did not agree with my points. This made me realize that if these factual-based solutions were to be implemented, many people in the community would be personally threatened and angry, because hearing these recommendations because of this reading, many people would not be very accepting of my suggestions, therefore making it very hard to implement in a community. She called that a shit show. But to me, I wasn't necessarily trying to call them out. I could have said way better words. I'm just saying, listen, my group members didn't agree with these solutions, so because of the fact that not everyone agrees with my solutions, these would be hard to implement. And that was literally a point I had to make. What would be like the downsides to my solutions? So she called it a shit show because of that. And I asked why. I asked why with a question mark. I don't know if you can see that. You probably can't see that, but I literally asked why. And then I put a question mark, like right next to the why in why. She said this. She sends me a paragraph that literally takes up this part of my phone. And she said, I've had problems with your work towards this project from the first day. I realize I'm not going to change your flawed mentality in my point of view, but is in big caps. But I've been trying to get you to understand that this is a group research project. This is not supposed to be about your personal beliefs. Just because you found websites that support your beliefs does not mean that they are unbiased and credible in research. Me and this other person in our group, are working together, and it is so difficult for you to have a group mentality. I'm so beyond frustrated because this involves my final grade. You said you were good at bullshitting, and that's exactly what you have done through this whole process. Bullshit your portion. I asked her right after that, I said, well, do you have any solutions? And she said, yes, everything that you haven't said. She says, it's too late. She said, didn't we say we were going to focus on the Department of Education? And I said, I don't remember that. She said, you haven't asked for anyone's ideas. You barely read the instructions, and I have had to correct everything. This is pointless, but I'm so irritated that I have to speak my mind. She says, like, who am I supposed to write this cover letter to? Single and poor African-American mothers who should read to their kids and send their kids to segregated schools because they had sex? And I no. There's a lot of stuff there, and I'm going to go back and talk about each point. But I sent her 2 text messages of when a week before, when I asked, okay, I finished the solutions part of the PowerPoint. I don't know if you girls want to add anything else. I don't think I could do the recording until we have the solution sides set in stone. So this was December 4th. This was about a week before I got this horrible text from her telling me that I didn't even reach out to her to know if she had anything to say, which I clearly did in this text message. And she said, I'll look at it after class. And that's the last I heard from her when I sent her that. And then I also sent her another thing. I told she was offended by an issue that I talked about. It was the whole busing situation. And I said, like, listen, I don't agree with it, but if you want to delete it, you can, but I'm dried out on solutions, you know. So I literally made it clear that I was done with solutions, that I didn't have anything more to talk about. This was also on the 4th or 5th. I don't have the timestamp on this one, but it was right below. Yeah, it was on the 4th. It was on the 4th. December 4th. So a week before I got this, like, horrible text from her. And I sent her something. This is when I kind of broke. And I said, before I was just saying, like, K or all right, never sorry. But I would always say, like, K, okay, all right, you know, just really single word responses to her really lame accusations. But I did send more than one word this time. I said, you chose not to send me solutions. And then I said, don't argue with someone who clearly does his research. And I took a picture of the chat from a week ago when I asked her if she had any solutions. And she literally sent me, like, you know, she clearly doesn't care about facts because she sent me this. She said, you're right. I'm not going to argue with someone who is ignorant and refuses to work with group members on a group project. But, you know, keep in mind, I invited our group member over to my house, in which she came over and completed the project on my personal computer. Not because I wanted to, but because I care about our group so much that I literally took out an hour and a half of my, it was like Thursday night. Like, I literally, it was like, this was like Thursday night. I literally had her come over on Thursday night. It was like 6 o'clock, right when the boys were probably coming over. Like, yeah, literally right before the boys were coming over. And I had her sit on my, you know, computer desk, and I had her finish her portion of the presentation. And I was like sitting next to her, helping record. I was literally pressing the stop and pause button in between the slides. She had to, like, audibly record. So yeah, I don't think you can say that I don't work with my group very well. That's why I'm kind of passionate about this rebuttal, because the whole time I didn't do anything racist. I didn't say anything bad. I didn't mean for anything to be offensive. I researched and I cited every single thing I said. I literally researched everything about reading, everything about whether it be the births out of wedlock. I literally researched every single point. The only thing that I held self-evident is the fact that I thought it would be better to put responsibility on the individual rather than the government, which is totally fine because I explained why I didn't want to put it on the government. So anyway, that's basically it for that whole situation. But it was just, it left a bad impression on our group because I just started getting yelled at for no reason again. It said, our other group member, not the angry one, but the one that's nice, the one that I had come over, and then I had her finish the project on my computer. She said, I'm almost finished. This was yesterday. She said, I'm almost finished. Does anyone want to read over their section for the mistakes before I turn it in, question mark? And then she said, Bryce, could I call you so that you could give me a summary of your recommendations? And then she said, why would you delete my references, Bryce? She said, you have to put them back in since you deleted them. She said, also, I formatted the references correctly, but you changed it. And then she sent a message right after saying, never mind, I was looking at the wrong paper. I'm sorry about that. So literally this girl had in her mind that I was purposely deleting like stuff that she put in our project. And literally she was calling me out. She's like, Bryce, why would you delete my references? You have to put them back since you deleted them. And she literally sent back like, I'm sorry about that. Which is fine. But you know, that's just another point for me, you know what I mean? I don't know, I just feel like there was teaming up on me during this whole project, and I unprovoked it. I'm just trying to do good in this project. I'm just trying to do this project well. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This was actually a really long video. I don't even know how long this is going to be, but I'm guessing it's like 15 minutes. Thank you for watching. If you think I did anything wrong or anything cool in this video, let me know in the comments. Let me know how you thought of this video, and also let me know what you want to see next time. Anyway, this has been Bryce. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you later.